So thankful that you're here today. I hope you're keeping up with all that's going on around here. God's moving in some powerful ways, and we're glad you're a part of it. Make sure you read all your lifelines so you can know what's happening. This morning I want to start by talking about the job our government has done in making us well aware of the danger of cigarettes. Some of you may not be old enough to remember. In 1971, they banned advertisement for cigarettes on TV or magazines. Later, in 1999, they banned it from billboards. But the most famous part of fighting it was the Surgeon General's warning in 1964. And you can see it on the side of a pack of cigarettes. It said many different things, but here's where it is today. Smoking causes lung cancer, emphysema, and many complications, even to pregnancy. So they warned us. So just a couple years ago, when the government needed to warn us about a raging epidemic in our country, they went back and compared it to the dangers of smoking cigarettes. It's the warning they gave of the danger of loneliness. Feeling lonely is as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Just think about that. If you feel isolated and lonely, it's as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It causes heart disease, dementia, strokes, depression, anxiety, you name it. And so I think they wanted to jar us with that idea of those 15 cigarettes. Because America today has a loneliness epidemic. 50% of Americans, at least once a week, feel extremely lonely. And the younger you get, the worse the statistics. Of 18 to 24-year-olds, 79%. It's one reason we want to welcome these college students so well over the next few weeks. Now, what are the causes of this? And I feel like we sort of go over this same list on lots of different issues, but let me just sort of tell you quickly. Number one, Americans move more often than ever before. Not as many Americans live in the vicinity of family. There's a decline in community groups, whether it's the Kiwanis Club or the Lions Club, or even churches have declined. Online social media has replaced, for many people, face-to-face interaction, which every study says it does not do the same thing. A contact is different than a confidant. A follower is different than a friend. And also, when you throw in that terrible pandemic we went through just a few years ago, so many people have felt stranded and lonely. Now, here's the good news today. God has an answer. God has a cure. And here's the even better news. It's us. God put the church here on the earth so that nobody has to feel lonely. A place where everybody's accepted, whatever their background, and loved. And so today we're going to look at what I call some one another passages. Because when we talk about the church being that place where people don't feel lonely, the next question will be, well, how do we do that? Well, God gave very specific instruction. In your New Testament, there are 51 another passages. What are they? They are telling us what we do for each other. And today, we're only going to have time to look at about 5, I guess 6 probably. But biblical community is built on the basis of our obedience to the one another passages. If we do these things, we can be that answer to this crazy epidemic. We can be the answer to your loneliness. If we don't, we're part of the problem. So let's look at 5 of those passages to begin with. First of all, the most obvious one is we are to love one another. Jesus says, a new command I give you, love one another as I've loved you. So you must love one another. By this, everyone will know you're my disciples if you love one another. Now, Jesus says this is a new command. Well, we know that loving each other had been commanded in the Old Testament. What's so new about it? What's new about it is the degree. We are to love one another as Christ loved us. Can you imagine if we built a community where you and I loved each other, and anybody who comes in this place, just the same way Jesus has loved us. It's a great standard. And it's what distinguishes us. It's what makes us so different than the world. The world is an extremely lonely place. All the normal social networks have been breaking down. But we can be that place if we'll love one another. Well, let's get more specific. Accept one another. Paul says, accept one another, then just as Christ accepted you, in order to bring praise to God. And God, let's be honest here. We all know that awful feeling of walking into a new school or a new job or a new church or a new community where we don't know anybody. We all know walking in those places where it's cold as ice and we don't feel accepted. And we all know the incredible difference when you walk into a room, a place, and immediately people care about you. It's so important. And then serve one another. You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free. But do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another in love. Guys, I will tell you, I go to a lot of churches to preach. A lot of times they do ask me to preach about small groups. And here's the question I ask at almost every church. If you had a big problem in the middle of the night, let's say it's 2 a.m., and you had a big problem, do you have someone in your church that you'd feel comfortable calling? And here's what shocks me. I've never asked that question in any church where someone didn't come up to me and say, I don't have that person. And that's why our elders will say to you, if you really want to be a part of this church and be taken care of, be accepted and be served, you've got to get in one of our small groups. Because that's where permission is given to lean on each other. That's where we serve each other. We meet each other's needs. And then let's see another one of those one another passages. Encourage one another. I love this passage because it surprises me. But encourage one another daily, as long as it's called today, so that none of you may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness. Now, if I were writing about how do you overcome sin, I don't know if my antidote would have been encouragement. I think I might have come up with something else. But the writer of Hebrews says, if we want to keep each other out of sin, what do? Wag our fingers at each other? Stay on each other's case? No. He says if we want to keep each other out of sin, we encourage each other. We build each other up. Why? Because when are you most vulnerable to sin? It's when you're discouraged and you're lonely. And it opens up all kinds of doors. But if we can be a community where people find encouragement, man, that would make all the difference in the world. You've heard me tell this story before. I love the famous basketball coach, John Wooden, won more NCAA championships than any other coach in history. But he was a very different coach, and he was very, very calm on the sidelines. And finally, a reporter asked him, Coach Wooden, how do you keep your players so motivated? We don't see you screaming at them. We don't see you jumping on them. And here was his answer. I do my best to catch them doing the right thing. I love that. Catch them doing the right thing. That's what encouragement is. We catch each other doing the right things and we say something about it. In this negative world, so very important. And then next, bear with one another. I love this one. Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you have a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. See that standard? We treat each other the way God's treated us. What's it mean to bear with someone? That means it's sometimes challenging. Sometimes I get on your nerves. Sorry, sometimes you get on my nerves. Sometimes we all get on each other's nerves, right? Sometimes we disappoint each other. But here's what this passage says is, unlike people in the world, we bear with each other. We don't give up on each other. We stick with each other. And this one verse makes us so different. If someone's struggling, someone's out of line, even someone sins, we don't reject them. We love them. We bear with them. If they've done us wrong, we forgive them because God's forgiven us. Now, just these 5 one another passages my friends, would make us so very different. Now, the problem with this for many of us is even just these 5 passages don't naturally happen in what we're doing right now. I love what we're doing right now. I don't want to do away with it. I love the assembly. I love that we get to worship together. And it does something powerful for us. But when it comes to obeying these commands, it's hard when you're looking at the back of somebody's head, right? It's got to happen with those face-to-face interactions. And so that leads me to the final part of our lesson is what is Landmark's plan for this? And you know this if you've been here a while. If you're new, I'm thrilled to get to introduce you to it. It's small groups. We say very firmly, we're a small group church. We're not a church that just does small group. We're a small group church. That's why our shepherds say, hey, if you're a new part of our church, our expectation is for you to be in a small group because that's where you're going to be taken care of. That's where people are going to know your needs. That's where you can call somebody at 2 a.m. in the morning. And you may be familiar that we have 3 different kinds of small groups in our church. Our primary groups are life groups, which are home-based groups. Our second groups are ABC groups that are building-based groups that meet on Wednesday night. And then we have great support groups. Now you say, okay, buddy, why are you making such a big deal about this? Well, first of all, if you read the passages we just read, and that's just 5 of the 50, you got to put yourself in a position where you can obey those commands and love each other and accept each other and encourage each other and serve each other. And okay, you're going through a tough time, we're going to bear with each other. And this is the best place for it to happen. So why such a big deal? Let me give you 3 quick answers. First of all, it's just scriptural. You know, if you know anything about churches of Christ, the best part of our background is that we're a restoration people. We're people who said, whatever the question is, why don't we just go back to Scripture and see what Jesus dreamed about when he built his church? What was the church like when it was exploding in the first century? And guys, you can't get around it. It was meeting publicly and meeting from house to house. Skip a couple of slides if you would. It's scriptural. And look at this passage, Acts 5:42. Day after day in the temple courts and from house to house, they never stopped teaching and proclaiming the good news that Jesus is the Messiah. Now, that's not a one-off. That phrase, temple courts, house to house, publicly, house to house, is over and over as the church explodes in the book of Acts. So as we do this, we're not just thinking of some newfangled deal. We're thinking about something that the church has practiced effectively for 2,000 years. Man, overnight they've got 3,000 Christians. What are you going to do? You're going to find a public meeting place, and then you're going to hopefully get everybody in small groups because they're not going to all be taken care of in this setting. Who's going to bear their burdens? Who they going to struggle with, share with? That's what we need. And number 2, they're successful. We've had incredible success with our small groups. I was last weekend with our shepherds, and we were interviewing somebody for a position here, and we just asked everybody around the circle to tell their favorite thing about Landmark. And what really fired me up was almost every elder to a person and wife said, my favorite part about Landmark is my life group. These people have been in church for a long, long time. And then this past week, I'm eating lunch with Josh Horton. And Josh reminds me of 8 years ago when him and Courtney moved to Montgomery. They were both single. Josh got here first, then Courtney. And they were engaged. And they showed up to Landmark one Sunday. And they were immediately invited to a life group. They really came here being warned not to come to Landmark and not expecting to come back. But they got in this life group and they fell in love with the people and they couldn't leave. So across the board, I could go all day telling you success stories. Now, I do admit there may be some of you say, that was not my experience. I didn't have a great experience. I understand that. Because just because you didn't have a great experience doesn't mean one's not possible. I mean, if you visit a restaurant and you have a bad experience, do you stop going to restaurants? By the look of you, none of you, okay? No, you don't. You just don't. And so, guys, if it's not work, try another groups. If you don't like the way it was led, start a group. So be a part of that. And then here's my final thing here on this. What I love about our system is it's extremely simple. I mean, if you want to start or be a part of a small group, here's what our life groups are based on. Whatever I preach about on Sunday morning, you apply and discuss in your life groups. I love it, not because it's about what I preach about, but because I've always thought in churches we have more knowledge than application. We study 3 or 4 different subjects a week and don't remember anything. But at least in this, we've paired together the Sunday morning message and the life group that goes, okay, I've heard this. Now, how does this affect me? How does this change me when I go to work tomorrow? How does it change the way I affect my wife, the way I treat my wife, my children? How does it help me live as a person in this world? Because I think that's a powerful, powerful combination. And guys, I want you to understand, in our life group ministry, our goal is not in-depth Bible study, if I'll be honest with you. That happens at 10 o'clock. Our goal in our life groups is application of the Word. And I love that. And so here's what happens. If you're one of our life group leaders, when I get my outline and things done by Thursday, I'll email you by Thursday afternoon a life group discussion guide. It'll be a single page that follows the message with questions to ask in a good flow to go by. When you come here on Sunday mornings, there'll be packets of them out on the information center desk so everybody in your group can have a copy of that. I'm a little embarrassed by what I say when we're training leaders. I want to tell you just really how simple this is. We finish our leader training with this challenge. Follow the 30-30 plan. What's the 30-30 plan? Listen, this is so simple. It's embarrassing, but it's so effective. If you as a leader would spend 30 minutes praying over the lesson and preparing to lead a discussion, just 30 minutes. You got it all in front of you. Preparing to lead a discussion. And if you would spend 30 minutes in the middle of the week communicating with your members and guests, you would be an above average leader. So right now, what's so exciting to me is in this break time when we're trying to shake things up a little bit. I'm hearing about lots of new groups forming. There's a lot of talk among singles of all ages of groups. A new newlywed engaged couples group will be forming. We have a group that I found out about this week in Prattville, which you've needed for a long, long time, that will be a midweek group. They'll follow our life group outline. We've got some folks volunteering to lead a parents of teen group for parents who bring their kids up here for the teen activities on Sunday night. There's lots of talk about needing more groups in the Emerald Mountain area. We do. In the Pike Road area. So I encourage you, there's a little form in your copy of Lifelines today. And if you'll turn that little form in, we'll help you get started. Again, here's what I love about this. It's just so simple. And we need people to step up and be a part of this. Listen, let me give you one more statistic, and we're going to change gears just for a moment. The last 18 months, year and a half, God has blessed this church with 150 new members. 150. That's why this is critical. That's why we don't need stealth groups, because we need places for everybody. Because you know and I know, when we talk about loneliness, a church can be a very lonely place, can't it? You ever been there? And that's why we're seeking to obey these commands, to make sure nobody comes in this place and has that kind of experience. Not by our choice anyway. We're going to have plenty of room and plenty of groups. Could you also join in thanking Joy and Ann for sharing with us today and being with us? There's so much about them I admire, and so thankful that we get to be a part of their work. Let's close with one more one another passage. Romans 12:10, be devoted to one another honor one another above yourselves. The only way for everything we've talked about today to work is if we're devoted. Some newer translations translate that, give your time to one another. It's a time commitment to build relationships like this, to have groups like this. So I want to ask you this morning, are we devoted to one another? Am I devoted to you? Are you devoted to me? Are we as a family devoted to making sure nobody suffers from loneliness? And just look at the list of the one another passages we studied earlier and ask yourself just for a moment, am I doing this? Please listen to me. Am I doing this for other people in this church? Am I loving them, and am I accepting them? Am I serving them? Am I encouraging them? Am I bearing with them? Because listen, my friends, we are God's solution to the loneliness epidemic. I know that sounds challenging, but to me it also sounds exciting. It may be the greatest opportunity the church has had in centuries in America because of this epidemic. And if we become the place where people can actually build face-to-face real relationships where you share life together, it can be so powerful. And so our question today is, if we don't, who will? And what are we saying to God if we're not willing to devote ourselves to doing this for one another? What are we saying to 150 new members if we don't make sure that we make room for them? I'm afraid what we're doing is saying, okay, buddy, just, we're not going to do it. We might as well just hand them some cigarettes on the way in. Hi, Brian, I see you over here. Do you prefer Lucky Strike or Winston? Brian's one of our new members. I mean, if we don't do this, what we're saying is, go for it. You wouldn't believe what these things cost. I bought my first cigarettes in my life yesterday. I mean, because I'm telling you, that makes it so real to me. If loneliness is that big a deal as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and we don't do what God's called us to do, we're saying go ahead and smoke them. We're not interested in building that. So as we close out this morning, I want to challenge two different groups. First of all, a group of people that are ready to step up in this church and help provide community. Maybe this is your moment to come forward and say, I want to be a great life group leader. I'd like to be trained to do this. I want to stop thinking about myself so much and start thinking about other people around me. I've been devoted to so many things in my life, but not this. Or also, as we sing this song together, I also would invite those who actually are lonely to just say it. Here's a doctor I read this week about this. You can feel lonely even if you're with a lot of people, because loneliness is about the quality of your relationships. Guys, you know and I know, you can feel lonely in a packed crowd. But the first step to doing better is what this is shared here from another doctor. If a patient tells me they're lonely or struggling with social isolation, they've already won half the battle. Just admitting it and saying it. If today it would bless you to be surrounded by people who love you and to share, despite the fact I'm sitting with all these people and got so many things going on in my life, the truth is I really am lonely. And would you guys help us? That's what we want to do. We don't want anybody walking out of here thinking I gotta live for Jesus all by myself, because it just won't work. That's why Satan works so hard to isolate us. And so today, if we could pray for you to be a leader in helping us build community, or if we could pray for you in your loneliness, why don't you come right now as we stand and sing.